Welcome to Story Tales. Please like this video and subscribe to Story Tales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin. Colton Rourke's work boots scraped against the concrete steps of his front porch. Dust from the construction site clung to his jeans and flannel shirt. 16 hours of overseeing foundation work had left his shoulders tight and his mind ready for silence. The cream envelope lay centered on his dining table like an accusation. Colton dropped his keys beside it. The paper felt expensive between his fingers. Heavy. The kind Lena always said made events feel important. Gold lettering spelled out his daughter's name in elegant script. MS. Lena Catherine Rourke requests the honor of your presence. His chest loosened. Finally, after months of hearing wedding plans secondhand through quick phone calls and canceled dinners, Lena had sent him the invitation. He'd been patient, given her space to plan with Malik, supported her choices even when they didn't include him. Colton opened the envelope fully and pulled out the card. The words hit him like a punch to the gut. Ramona Voss and Spencer Maddox cordially invite you to celebrate the marriage of Lena Catherine Rourke to Malik James Greer. He read it again, then a third time. His name wasn't there. 25 years of raising Lena alone. 25 years of school plays and soccer games and late-night homework help. 25 years of being the only parent who stayed. And Ramona got to host the wedding. Colton set the invitation on the table with deliberate care. His hands didn't shake. They never did. But something cold settled in his chest, spreading outward like ice water through his veins. He pulled out his phone and dialed Lena's number. "Dad, I'm kind of busy right now. Got your invitation." Silence stretched between them. Colton could hear voices in the background. Laughter. His daughter's life happening without him. "Oh, good. I wasn't sure if you'd gotten it yet. Ramona and Spencer are hosting. Mom did everything for this. She knows all the right people. She has connections with the vendors." It just made sense. The words came out flat. Rehearsed. "And where exactly do I fit in this wedding, Lena? You're my dad. Of course you're part of it. Not according to this invitation. Dad, don't be dramatic. Mom is family too. Family. The woman who'd walked out when Lena was 9 years old. Who'd missed every birthday, every graduation, every moment that mattered. Who'd come back 6 months ago with apologies and explanations and suddenly become family again. I raised you. I know that. I paid for your college. Your car. I've been saving for your wedding since you were 16. And I appreciate that. But Mom wants to help too. She feels bad about missing so much time. So you erase me to make her feel better. Nobody's erasing anybody. You're being ridiculous." Colton closed his eyes. Lena's voice had taken on that sharp edge she'd inherited from Ramona. The tone that meant the conversation was over whether he liked it or not. "I have to go, Dad. Spencer's parents are here, and we're doing final head count stuff." The line went dead. Colton stared at the invitation. Gold lettering on cream paper. Elegant. Expensive. Empty of his name, that he folded it carefully and placed it back in the envelope. The smell of barbecue smoke drifted through June's backyard. Colton stood at the edge of her deck, watching his cousin's kids run through the sprinkler system. Their laughter mixed with the hiss of meat on the grill and the low hum of adult conversation. "You're doing that thing again." June appeared beside him, 2 beer bottles in her hands. She held one out to him. "What thing?" Standing apart. Thinking too hard. June took a long drink. "What's eating you?" Colton pulled the wedding invitation from his back pocket. The envelope was creased now from being folded and unfolded. June read it silently, her face growing harder with each line. "This is garbage. Lena says Ramona's family too. Ramona left. Family doesn't leave." June handed the invitation back to him. "How much money have you put aside for this wedding?" 40,000. Jesus Christ, Colt. She's my daughter, and she just handed the hosting duties to the woman who abandoned her. June set her beer on the deck railing. "You can't let this stand. What am I supposed to do? Throw a tantrum? Demand my name gets added? You're supposed to act like a man with self-respect." Tommy, their cousin, wandered over with a plate of ribs. His wife Lisa followed, already deep in conversation about her daughter's college applications. "Were you two plotting over here?" Tommy asked. June held up the invitation. "Read this." Tommy scanned it quickly. Lisa peered over his shoulder. Both their faces changed. "Where's your name, Colt?" Lisa asked. "That's the question." "This is wrong," Tommy said. "You raised that girl. Ramona hasn't been around for what, 15 years? 16. And now she gets to host the wedding." Lisa shook her head. "That's not right." Lena thinks it makes sense. "Ramona has connections. Ramona has an agenda," June said. "She's trying to rewrite history. Make herself the good mother who came back to save the day. Maybe she's changed. People like Ramona don't change. They just get better at pretending." Delilah Ames appeared at the back gate, balancing a covered dish and her purse. Lena's college roommate had become family over the years. She joined them at barbecues and holidays. Called Colton when Lena was too busy to visit. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was insane." She set the dish on the deck table and hugged June. "What's everyone looking so serious about?" June handed her the invitation, that Delilah's face went through the same progression of confusion and anger. "This can't be right." "Apparently, it is." Lena agreed to this. Lena suggested it. "That doesn't sound like her." "Ramona's very persuasive," Colton said. Delilah studied the invitation again. "You know what? I'm going to talk to her." "Don't. Someone needs to. This is wrong on every level." Delilah folded the invitation and handed it back. "Lena's not stupid. She's just caught up in whatever fantasy Ramona's selling. Let it go, Delilah." "No. You've done everything for that girl. Everything. And now you're supposed to sit quietly while Ramona takes credit?" She shook her head. "I won't let that happen." June nodded. "Good. Someone with sense. I mean it, both of you. Stay out of this. You're family," June said. "We don't stay out of anything when family gets hurt." Colton looked around the circle of faces. These people had been there through everything. Lena's first steps, her first day of school, every soccer game and school play when Ramona was nowhere to be found. Now Ramona was family, and they were just guests. "I'm not paying for a wedding where I'm treated like an afterthought," he said quietly. "Good," June said. "Let Ramona pay for her own show. But don't cut Lena off completely," Lisa added. "She's going to need you when she figures out what Ramona really is." "If she figures it out." "She will," Delilah said. "Trust me, I know Lena better than anyone except you. This isn't her. This is Ramona pulling strings." The conversation moved on to other topics, but Colton's mind stayed fixed on the invitation in his pocket. $40,000 saved over 9 years. Money that could have gone toward expanding his business or buying the lake house he'd always wanted. Money he'd been happy to spend on his daughter's perfect day. But this wasn't Lena's day anymore. It was Ramona's comeback performance. The restaurant buzzed with Sunday brunch conversation. Colton arrived exactly on time, as always. Lena had chosen the place upscale enough to impress, casual enough to avoid feeling formal. The kind of compromise that meant she was nervous. He spotted them at a corner table. Lena looked beautiful in a yellow sundress, her dark hair pulled back in a way that reminded him painfully of her mother. Malik sat beside her, scrolling through his phone with the distracted air of someone who'd rather be anywhere else. Across from them sat Ramona and Spencer. Colton hadn't seen his ex-wife in person for 3 years. She looked good, expensive. Her blonde hair was styled in that effortless way that probably cost more than most people's weekly groceries. Spencer looked exactly like what he was, a 40-year-old man trying to pass for 30. Polo shirt, expensive watch, smile that never reached his eyes. "Dad!" Lena stood and hugged him. For a moment, she was his little girl again. Then she pulled back and the distance returned. "Colton!" Ramona's voice was warm honey. "You look well, Ramona." He shook hands with Spencer, who gripped just a little too tight. "Making a point. Good to finally meet you properly," Spencer said. "I've heard so much about you." "I'm sure you have." They sat. The server appeared with coffee and menus. Small talk filled the space, weather, work, the restaurant's atmosphere. All of them dancing around the real conversation. "So," Ramona said, cutting into her eggs Benedict, "I suppose you have questions about the wedding arrangements." "I have questions about a lot of things. The venue is absolutely perfect. Spencer has a connection with the owner. We got an incredible deal. Ramona has such good taste," Lena added quickly. "The flowers alone are going to be amazing." "I'm sure they are. Who's paying for them?" Silence dropped over the table like a curtain. "Dad, it's a fair question," Spencer said. Money talk makes everyone uncomfortable, but it's practical. We're covering everything, Ramona said. This is our gift to Lena. Colton looked at his daughter. All of it. Lena nodded, but her eyes flickered away from his. The venue, catering, flowers, photography, music, everything. That's generous. We want Lena to have the perfect day, Spencer said. No expense spared. Of course, if you'd like to contribute something, Ramona added, I'm sure we could find a place for it. Maybe the rehearsal dinner. The offer landed like a slap. 25 years of raising Lena, and he got to buy dinner for the night before her wedding. That's thoughtful of you. I know this is awkward, Ramona continued, but we're adults. We can put the past behind us for Lena's sake. Can we? I think we can all agree that Lena's happiness is what matters. Colton set down his coffee cup. And you think Lena's happiness depends on you hosting her wedding? I think Lena deserves to have both her parents involved in her special day. Where are you for the other special days? The temperature at the table dropped 10 degrees. Colton, Malik said quietly, maybe we shouldn't. No, it's fine, Ramona said. Colton has every right to be upset. I made mistakes. I know that. But I'm here now. I want to make up for lost time. You can't make up for 16 years in 6 months. I'm not trying to replace what you did. I'm trying to be part of what happens next. By erasing me from the wedding. Nobody's erasing anybody, Lena said, her voice sharp. God, Dad, why does everything have to be about you? The words hit harder than a physical blow. Colton looked at his daughter, really looked at her. The defensive set of her shoulders. The way she leaned slightly toward Ramona. The irritation in her voice when she spoke to him. 6 months. 6 months of Ramona's careful attention, and Lena had forgotten 16 years of sacrifice. You're right, he said quietly. This isn't about me. He stood and dropped a 20 on the table. Dad, where are you going? Enjoy your brunch. Colton, please sit down, Ramona said. We can work this out. He looked at her across the table. Still beautiful. Still convinced the world revolved around her wants and needs. Still capable of taking everything and making it seem like a gift. No, he said. We can't. He walked out of the restaurant without looking back. Behind him, he heard Lena's voice calling his name. But he didn't stop. The spring air felt cold against his face. For the first time in 25 years, Colton Rourke had no idea what came next in his relationship with his daughter. But he knew exactly what came next with the wedding. The construction office was quiet at 7 in the morning. Colton sat behind his desk with a cup of black coffee and a list of phone numbers. He'd spent the weekend thinking, planning, calculating. Now it was time to act. He dialed the first number. Willow Creek Country Club, this is Janet. Janet, this is Colton Rourke. I need to speak with someone about canceling an event booking. Of course, Mr. Rourke. Let me transfer you to events. The hold music was classical, soothing. Colton drummed his fingers on the desk while he waited. Events, this is Patricia. Patricia, I need to cancel the wedding reception booked for June 15th under the Rourke account. Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that. May I ask the reason for the cancellation? Family issues. I understand. Let me pull up your contract. Keyboard clicking. Here it is. The good news is you're still within the cancellation window. There will be a 20% fee, but the rest of your deposit will be refunded. That's fine. I'll process this right away. Should I expect a call from the bride or groom to confirm? No, this is my event to cancel. Perfect. You should receive confirmation within 24 hours. One down. Colton called the caterer next. Same conversation, same result. The photographer was trickier. She'd already ordered special equipment, but the contract was clear. Late cancellation fee, but cancellation nonetheless. By 10 o'clock. He dismantled the entire wedding. His phone buzzed. Text for June. I was brunch yesterday. He typed back. Enlightening. Coffee later, your place or mine. 2 o'clock. The floors took the longest. Marie had known Colton for 12 years, had done arrangements for his company Christmas parties. She didn't want to cancel. Are you sure about this, Colt? Lena seemed so excited about the peonies. I'm sure. Can I ask what happened? Change of plans. Well, if you change your mind, I'll hold the flowers for another week. No charge. That's kind of you, but it won't be necessary. By noon, every vendor had been contacted. Every contract canceled. The wedding that Ramona was so generously hosting no longer existed. Colton leaned back in his chair and looked out the window at his equipment yard. 3 excavators, 2 bulldozers, a crane that had been his biggest investment last year. All of it built from nothing but hard work and careful planning. Ramona thought she could waltz back into their lives and rewrite history. Make herself the hero of Lena's story. She was about to learn how expensive that kind of revision could be. June arrived with a bottle of whiskey and a grim expression. She set both on Colton's kitchen table and took a seat. "You look like a man with a plan." "I am." "Good. What do you need?" Colton poured 2 glasses and slid one across to his sister. "Information. About Spencer." "What kind of information?" "The useful kind." June smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "I'll make some calls." They drank in comfortable silence. Outside, the afternoon was warm and bright. Inside, Colton felt the familiar calm that came with decisive action that a knock at the front door interrupted the quiet. Colton opened it to find Delilah standing on his porch, looking nervous. "Can we talk?" "Come in." Delilah followed him to the kitchen. June poured her a drink without being asked. "I talked to Lena," Delilah said, and she's completely under Ramona's spell. It's like she's forgotten everything that happened before 6 months ago. People believe what they want to believe. This is more than that. Ramona's rewriting the entire narrative, making herself out to be the victim who's finally strong enough to come back and be a real mother. And Lena buys it. Hook, line, and sinker. Delilah took a sip of whiskey and made a face. "But that's not why I'm here." Colton waited. "I saw something at Spencer's office last week. I was dropping off some marketing materials for my company, and he was there meeting with a client. And the client was a woman. Young, pretty. And Spencer was." Delilah paused. "He was flirting? Heavily. Hand on her arm, leaning in close the whole thing. Business flirting or personal flirting?" "Personal. Definitely personal. When he saw me, he practically jumped away from her." June leaned forward. "Did you tell Lena?" "I tried. She said Spencer's naturally friendly, and I was reading too much into it." "Of course she did. There's more. I've been paying attention since then. Watching him at group dinners, parties, that kind of thing. Spencer can't keep his hands to himself. He flirts with every woman under 40, including Lena, especially Lena, but not in a respectful way. More like she's a possession he's showing off." Colton finished his drink. "Interesting. You're planning something," Delilah said. "I can tell. I'm planning several things. Can I help?" "You can keep watching Spencer. Document anything inappropriate. Times, places, witnesses. What about Ramona?" "Leave Ramona to me." After Delilah left, June stayed for another hour. They didn't talk much, just sat at the kitchen table, drinking whiskey and thinking. "You know this is going to get ugly," June said finally. "It's already ugly. Lena's going to be hurt. Lena's already hurt. She just doesn't know it yet." June nodded. "What do you need me to do?" "Find out everything you can about Spencer's finances. Business dealings, debts, anything that doesn't add up. That might take some time." "We have time. The wedding's not for 3 weeks." June looked confused. "What wedding?" Colton smiled for the first time in days. "Exactly. Lena's phone call came at 6 in the morning." Colton was already up, drinking coffee and reading the news on his tablet. Her voice was pitched high with panic. "Dad, something terrible happened." "What's wrong?" "The country club called. They said you canceled our reception." "I did." Silence. "Then, what do you mean you did?" "I canceled the wedding reception, along with the catering, flowers, and photography." "You can't do that. It's my wedding. It's my contract. My money. My cancellation." "Dad, this isn't funny." "I'm not laughing." More silence. He could hear her breathing, fast and shallow. "Why would you do this to me?" "I didn't do anything to you. I made a business decision about my money. This is insane. You're destroying my wedding because you're mad about the invitation." "I'm not destroying anything. I'm simply not paying for something I'm not part of." "You are part of it. You're my father." "Then why isn't my name on the invitation?" "Because Mom handled the printing and she thought she could erase me and I'd pay for the privilege." "Nobody's trying to erase you." Colton could hear voices in the background. Ramona's voice, urgent and demanding. Spencer's deeper tone, angry. Let me talk to him, Ramona said, clearly enough for Colton to hear. Dad, Mom wants to talk to you. I don't want to talk to her. Please, we can fix this. There's nothing to fix. I made my choice. Live with it. He ended the call. The phone rang again immediately. He let it go to voicemail. It rang 4 more times in the next hour. He ignored each call. By 8 o'clock, someone was pounding on his front door. Colton opened it to find Ramona standing on his porch. She looked perfectly put together despite the early hour. Behind her, Spencer leaned against a black BMW, talking loudly into his phone. We need to talk. No, we don't. Yes, we do. You just destroyed our daughter's wedding. Your daughter's wedding was never my responsibility. Don't be childish, Colton. Childish. He stepped onto the porch, forcing her back. You disappear for 16 years. You come back and immediately start playing Mother of the Year. You convince Lena to cut me out of the biggest day of her life. And I'm being childish. I never cut you out of anything. The invitation says otherwise. That was a mistake. A printing error. Was it? Ramona's composure cracked slightly. Fine. I thought it would be easier if Spencer and I handled the hosting duties. We have more experience with formal events. You have more experience manipulating people. I'm trying to give Lena a beautiful wedding. You try to rewrite history. Make yourself the good guy in a story where you abandoned your family. I didn't abandon anyone. I left a marriage that wasn't working. You left a daughter who needed you. And I regret that. Every day. But I'm here now. Now that she's grown up. Now that all the hard work is done. Spencer finished his phone call and approached them. Look, Colton, I get that you're upset. But this is hurting Lena. Can't we work something out? Such as, put your name on the invitation. Make it a joint hosting thing. Whatever it takes. What it takes is for both of you to disappear from my daughter's life. That's not going to happen, Spencer said. We'll see. Ramona stepped closer. Colton, I know I hurt you. I know I made mistakes. But punishing Lena won't change the past. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm making a point. What point? That actions have consequences. That loyalty matters. That you can't just waltz back into someone's life and expect to be handed everything you walked away from. I'm not trying to take anything from you. You took my daughter. She's an adult. She makes her own choices. Influenced by you. Influenced by love. By the desire to have a relationship with her mother. Colton looked at Ramona, standing on his porch, beautiful and confident and utterly convinced of her own righteousness. Behind her, Spencer radiated the kind of aggressive charm that worked on most people most of the time. Neither of them understood what they were dealing with. Here's what's going to happen, Colton said quietly. You're going to leave my property. You're going to go back to wherever you came from, and you're going to stay away from my family. Your family? Spencer stepped forward. Last I checked, Lena was marrying into my family. Was she? What's that supposed to mean? It means weddings are expensive and complicated. And sometimes they don't work out. Ramona paled. If you think you can intimidate us, I don't need to intimidate anyone. I just need to protect what's mine. Lena isn't yours, Spencer said. She's a grown woman who can make her own decisions. Then let her make them without your influence. We're not going anywhere, Colton, Ramona said. Lena needs us. Lena needs to learn who she can trust. And that's you. That's her choice to make. He went back inside and closed the door. Through the window, he watched them argue on his lawn for another 5 minutes before driving away. The phone rang again. This time it was Malik. Mr. Rourke? It's Malik. Can we talk? What about? This whole situation. It's gotten out of hand. Has it? Lena's hysterical. Ramona's talking about legal action. Spencer's making threats. This isn't what any of us wanted. What did you want, Malik? I wanted a simple wedding. Lena and me, our family's a nice ceremony. Nothing fancy. And instead I'm caught in the middle of a war I don't understand. It's not that complicated. Ramona wants to rewrite the past. I won't let her. But Lena gets hurt in the process. Lena's already hurt. She just doesn't know it yet. Mr. Rourke, I love your daughter. But I can't handle all this drama. My family doesn't do drama. Then maybe you should think about whether you're marrying into the right family. Malik was quiet for a long moment. Maybe I should. The line went dead. June called at noon with news. Spencer's in dead up to his eyeballs. Colton set down his sandwich. How deep? Credit cards, business loans, second mortgage on his condo. He's leveraged everything. Business troubles. His startup is hemorrhaging money. Has been for 2 years. He's been using new investors to pay old debts. Ponzi scheme. Close enough. And there's more. Tell me, he's been using dating apps. Multiple profiles on different platforms. All active within the last month. Colton felt that familiar cold satisfaction. Can you prove it? Screenshots, messages, the whole thing. Delilah was right about the flirting. Spencer's shopping around. While engaged to Ramona, while planning a wedding with Ramona. Man's got balls, I'll give him that. Or, he's an idiot. Both, probably. What do you want to do with this? Colton thought about it. Spencer was digging his own grave, but timing mattered. The revelation needed maximum impact. Hold on to everything for now. I'll let you know when to use it. You got it. How's Lena handling all this? She's not speaking to me. That'll change. Maybe. It will. You raised her better than that. After June hung up, Colton sat in his kitchen, staring at his phone. Part of him wanted to call Lena, explain everything, make her understand. But that would defeat the purpose. Lena had to learn to see through manipulation herself, or she'd spend her whole life being used by people like Ramona. His phone buzzed. Text message from Delilah. Can you meet me tonight? Something happened. He texted back. Where? Murphy's Tavern. 8 o'clock. Murphy's was a dive bar on the edge of town. Dark, quiet, and perfect for conversations you didn't want overheard. Delilah was already there when Colton arrived, sitting in a corner booth with an untouched beer in front of her. Thanks for coming. What happened? Malik called me. He's having second thoughts about the wedding. Smart man. He's scared, Colt. All this fighting between you and Ramona, Lena caught in the middle. He says his family doesn't handle conflict well. Most people don't. Lena doesn't know yet. He wants to talk to her tomorrow night. And say what? That maybe they should postpone until things calm down. Colton nodded. Malik was weak, but he wasn't stupid. The chaos surrounding the wedding was showing him exactly what marriage to Lena would look like with Ramona in the picture. There's something else, Delilah said. I was at Lena's apartment today. Spencer came by while I was there. And he was different. Angry. Started talking about how you were ruining everything. How Ramona deserved better. How Lena needed to choose sides. What did Lena say? That's the thing. She agreed with him. Said you were being controlling and vindictive. That Ramona was trying to be a good mother, and you were punishing her for past mistakes. The words hit harder than Colton expected. His own daughter, choosing Ramona's version of events over 25 years of evidence. Spencer got really worked up about it. Delilah continued. Started talking about legal options. Forcing you to honor contracts. Making you pay for damages. Let him try, but here's the weird part. When he was ranting about you, he put his hand on Lena's thigh. High up. Possessive. And when she shifted away, he squeezed. Hard enough that she winced. Colton's hands tightened around his beer bottle. Did you say anything? I couldn't without making things worse. But I watched him the rest of the time he was there. Every chance he got, he touched her. Her shoulder, her arm, her back. And it wasn't affectionate. It was controlling. Did Lena notice? If she did, she didn't say anything. But she looked uncomfortable. Ramona notice? Ramona was too busy planning their next move to pay attention to Spencer's hands. Colton drank his beer and processed the information. Spencer was showing his true colors, but subtly, carefully. The kind of man who tested boundaries in small ways before crossing bigger lines. Keep watching, he said finally. What are you going to do? What I have to do. The rehearsal dinner was supposed to be intimate. 20 people at Chez Laurent, the French restaurant downtown. Colton wasn't invited, but he came anyway. He walked into the private dining room at 7:30, dressed in his best suit and carrying a manila envelope. Conversation stopped. Every face turned toward him. Dad, Lena stood up from the head table. What are you doing here? Bringing a wedding gift. The room was elegant. Candles on every table, fresh flowers, white tablecloths. Ramona had spared no expense. She sat beside Spencer at the head table, looking beautiful and horrified in equal measure. Colton, she said carefully, this is a private event. I won't stay long. He walked to the center of the room and set the envelope on the gift table. Every eye followed his movements. Spencer, he said conversationally, interesting bachelor party you had last weekend. Spencer went pale. What are you talking about? The dating apps, the messages, the photos you've been sending to other women. That's ridiculous. Colton opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of printed screenshots. This is from your Tinder profile, active as of yesterday. He held up the first page. Here's a message you sent to someone named Ashley on Tuesday. Very romantic. You're lying. This one's from Bumble. Message to Jennifer, dated last Friday. You told her you were recently single and looking for something serious. Ramona stood up slowly. Spencer, he's making this up. And this, Colton continued, pulling out another page, is from Match.com. Profile created 3 weeks ago, under the name Steve Matthews. Different pictures, but same phone number. He handed the papers to Malik, who read them with growing horror. These could be faked, Spencer said desperately. Could be, but they're not. Colton pulled out his phone. Wanting to call Ashley? She's expecting to meet you for drinks tomorrow night. The room erupted. Ramona started screaming at Spencer. Malik threw the papers at Lena and walked out. Several guests began talking at once in the chaos. Only Lena remained silent. She sat at the head table, staring at the evidence in front of her, her face white with shock. You son of a bitch! Spencer lunged toward Colton. Malik's groomsman caught him before he could make contact. This is harassment, Ramona shouted. I'm calling the police. Go ahead, Colton said calmly. I'm sure they'd be interested in Spencer's business dealings too. Fraud investigations can be very thorough. Spencer stopped struggling. What business dealings? The startup that doesn't exist. The investors you've been lying to. The loans you took out in Ramona's name. This time, Ramona went pale. What loans? Asked Spencer. Or better yet, check your credit report. You're destroying everything, Ramona whispered. I'm revealing everything. There's a difference. He looked around the room at the shocked faces, the overturned chairs, the ruins of what was supposed to be a celebration. Congratulations on the wedding, he said. Hope it works out for you. He walked out of the restaurant and into the cool evening air. Behind him, the shouting continued. But for the first time in weeks, Colton Rourke felt like he could breathe. Colton was replacing the brake pads on his truck when Lena arrived. He heard her car in the driveway, but didn't look up from his work. The mechanical task helped him think, and he had a lot to think about. 3 days had passed since the rehearsal dinner. 3 days of silence from his daughter. 3 days of wondering if he'd pushed too hard, gone too far. Dad, her voice was small, broken. When he finally looked up, he saw she'd been crying. Her eyes were red and swollen, her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Lena, can we talk? He wiped his hands on a rag and gestured toward the porch. They sat on the steps like they used to when she was young and had problems that seemed impossible to solve. Malik left, she said quietly. I know. He said he couldn't handle the drama, that his family doesn't do complicated. Colton nodded. He'd expected as much. Malik was a good man, but not a strong one. The chaos of the last few weeks had shown him exactly what he was signing up for. Spencer's gone too. Took everything he could carry and disappeared. And Ramona's... Lena's voice cracked. She's destroyed. Financially, emotionally, everything. The loans Spencer took out in her name, they're all due. She might lose her apartment. I'm sorry. Are you? Lena looked at him with red-rimmed eyes. Because it feels like this was your plan all along. Colton considered his words carefully. My plan was to protect you. By destroying my wedding. By showing you who you were really dealing with. I loved him, Dad. I thought I was going to marry him. You love the idea of him. Just like you love the idea of having your mother back. Lena flinched. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time Ramona called you? Before 6 months ago. She was dealing with her own problems. For 16 years. People change. Some people do. Ramona isn't one of them. They sat in silence for a while. A neighbor's dog barked somewhere down the street. Kids rode bikes on the sidewalk, their laughter carrying on the evening air. I said terrible things to you, Lena whispered. You said what you believed. I believe lies. You believed what you wanted to believe. That's not the same thing. How do you stand it? Being right about people when being right hurts so much. Colton put his arm around his daughter's shoulders. She leaned into him like she used to when she was small. You learn to see people for who they are, not who you want them to be. And you protect the people who matter most, even when they hate you for it, especially then. Lena cried against his shoulder while the sun set behind them. 25 years of raising her, and this was the hardest lesson yet. But she was learning it, and that was what mattered. What happens now? She asked eventually. Now you figure out what you really want. Not what Ramona wants, not what Spencer wanted, not what I want. What you want? I don't know anymore. That's okay. You have time to figure it out. Will you help me? Always. The phone call started the next morning. Malik, wondering if there was any chance of reconciliation. Ramona, desperate and angry in equal measure. Wedding guests, confused about cancellations and changes. Lena handled them all with a composure that surprised Colton. She was direct, honest, and final. The wedding was canceled. No new date would be set. Everyone needed to move on. That's the last of them, she said, setting her phone on the kitchen table. Officially unwed. How do you feel? Relieved, mostly. And terrified. Of what? Starting over. I'm 25, and I feel like I don't know anything about anything. You know more than you think. Do I? I nearly married a man who was cheating on my mother. I let my mother manipulate me into cutting you out of the biggest day of my life. I believed liars and hurt the one person who's always been there for me. You made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Not like this. Colton poured 2 cups of coffee and sat across from her. When you were 7, you brought home a stray cat. Remember? Whiskers. Whiskers. You were convinced he was a sweet, lonely cat who just needed love. He was feral. Bit 3 people and destroyed half the furniture in the house before we found him a home at the animal sanctuary. What's your point? You saw what you wanted to see instead of what was there. But you learned from it. Never brought home another stray without checking with me first. This is a little bigger than a cat, Dad. Same principle. You trusted your heart instead of your head. Now you know better. Lena stirred sugar into her coffee, thinking. Ramona came by yesterday while you were at work. What did she want? Money. She's behind on everything because of Spencer's loans. Asked if I could help. And I told her no. It felt good to finally see her clearly. What did you see? Someone who only shows up when she needs something. Someone who spent my whole life putting herself first. Lena met his eyes. Someone who's nothing like you. I'm not perfect, Lena. No, but you're loyal and honest. And you've never asked me for anything except to be happy and safe. That's all any parent should want, is it? Because Ramona seemed to want a lot more than that. Colton didn't answer. Lena would figure out her own relationship with her mother, or lack thereof. His job was to be there when she needed him. I want to do something useful, Lena said suddenly. With my life, I mean. All this wedding planning, all this focus on one day. It feels so empty now. What would make you feel useful? I don't know. Something that helps people. Something that matters. There are a lot of ways to help people. What do you think I should do? I think you should figure out what you're passionate about and find a way to make it useful to others. Lena nodded slowly. Can I stay here for a while? While I figure things out. This is your home. It always has been. 6 months later, Colton stood in the main room of the Willow Creek Community Center and watched kids play basketball on the new court. The building had been his wedding gift to himself, $40,000 that would have gone to Ramona's show, instead invested in something permanent. The computer lab opens next week. He turned to find Lena approaching with 2 cups of coffee. She looked different than she had 6 months ago. Stronger, more sure of herself. How many kids signed up? 37. Way more than we expected. Good problem to have. Lena handed him a coffee and stood beside him, watching the game. She'd been volunteering at the center since it opened, helping with programming and working with local kids on college applications. June's here, she said. Wants to talk to you about the expansion plans. What expansion plans? The ones you're going to approve after she shows you how much good we're doing here. Colton smiled. His sister never gave up. And there's something else, Lena said carefully. Ramona called. His smile faded. What did she want? To apologize. Again. And to ask if she could see you. What did you tell her? That she'd have to ask you herself. Good answer. But I also told her that if she was looking for money or help, or some kind of second chance, she was wasting her time. Also a good answer. She's not doing well, Dad. lost the apartment, had to move in with her sister. Spencer really did a number on her finances. And nothing. I just thought you should know. Colton nodded. He felt no satisfaction in Ramona's troubles, but no sympathy either. She'd made her choices. Now she could live with them. Do you miss her? Lena asked quietly. I miss who I thought she was when we were young. But that person probably never existed. Do you think I'll ever want to see her again? Maybe. That's up to you. Right now, I can't imagine it. Right now, you don't have to. June appeared in the doorway, clipboard in hand and determination in her eyes. Behind her, Delilah waved from the reception desk where she was helping with registration. Family meeting, June announced. Conference room. Now, we don't have a conference room, Colton said. The storage closet will do. Lena laughed. I'll get Delilah. Colton watched his daughter walk away, confident and purposeful. The lost, confused young woman from 6 months ago was gone, replaced by someone who knew her own mind and trusted her own judgment. You did good, June said, following his gaze. She did the work herself. You gave her the chance to do it. I gave her a choice. She made the right one. Eventually's what matters. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the kids play and Lena laugh with Delilah at the front desk. The community center hummed with activity and purpose. Real purpose, not the manufactured drama of weddings and reunions. So, June said eventually about those expansion plans, Colton sighed. Let's hear them. But he was already thinking about possibilities. More space, more programs, more ways to invest in things that lasted. The wedding money had become something better than he'd ever imagined. Outside, the Oregon evening was cool and clear. Inside the community center, kids played and learned and found safe spaces to grow. At the front desk, his daughter smiled as she helped a family sign up for after-school programs. IT wasn't the future Colton had planned 6 months ago. It was better. For the first time in years, Colton Rourke was exactly where he belonged, doing exactly what mattered most. The people who'd tried to erase him from his daughter's life were gone. The people who'd stood by him remained. Loyalty was everything, and everything else was just noise.